Welcome to the deep dive. This week, we are taking a uh, really fascinating and often raw look at a specific collection of sources.
Yeah,
They're all centered around that high wire act of the holiday season, specifically Thanksgiving.
right.
But they spiral out so quickly into these core universal questions about gratitude, about reflection, and, well, how on earth we stay grounded when the world just feels like it's perpetually running off the rails.
That's it, exactly. Our mission for you, the listener, is to be your guides through this material. We're going to be extracting insights, some grounding principles from dialogue that is often super personal,
Yeah.
sometimes profane, and just always deeply reflective. We are literally spanning the entire spectrum of human experience today.
From the sublime down to the ridiculous.
From a sublime existential crisis all the way down to the most mundane, glorious comfort food you can imagine.
Absolutely. And when I say spectrum, I mean we're moving from wrestling with these profound historical questions like, is the very foundation of our existence stacked on sin, all the way down to a deep, almost religious appreciation for what one source calls
Oh, I know what you're going to say.
garlic ass bread.
It's a journey. It really forces you to balance the biggest questions with the smallest, most tangible joys. Let's unpack this and maybe start with that historical weight.
We have to. The sources immediately recognize the complexity around Thanksgiving. You just can't ignore the historical weight, and they confront this right away. One of the first acknowledgments was the absolute necessity of honoring Native Americans, recognizing them as, quote, the indigenous people, the original people of this land.
And what's so crucial about that recognition is the context they immediately put on it. It's not just checking a box.
Not at all.
They connect the very foundation of this country's existence to past wrongs, to mistakes. The speaker uses this really heavy phrase that the history of time is stacked on sin and mistakes.
It's a very sober, almost paralyzing backdrop for a holiday about gratitude.
It is.
But here's the strange reality of human nature, which the sources capture so perfectly. You have that massive, heavy moment of recognition, and then almost instantly, the collective thought process just pivots to,
Let's eat.
let's eat. Exactly. That transition from societal guilt to the immediate, tangible joy of a shared meal, that's a profound reflection of how we actually navigate these things. We seek that immediate comfort.
It allows people to connect that high-level philosophical struggle, the vastness of history, with something immediate, something physical, something right now. It's a survival mechanism, really.
And if we're talking immediate physical comfort, nothing, and I mean nothing, embodies that quite like the ultimate comfort food discussed in the material, garlic bread.
The enthusiasm here is it's not just descriptive, it's intense.
It's a religion.
It's declared the bacon of breads. This isn't a casual preference, it's a full-on cult following.
And crucially, it has to be the real, genuine article. The source specifically rejects the fancy stuff, the high-end substitutes.
No focaccia.
No focaccia. It has to be garlic ass bread. And what fascinated me was the argument that even bad garlic bread is still appreciated. It speaks to this radical acceptance of joy, even when it's imperfect.
They drove that point home with an almost unbelievable level of detail, didn't they?
Oh my gosh.
They paint this highly specific, borderline profane picture of the absolute minimum acceptable quality.
The kind prepared by a trap house cook.
Right, who's using a lighter under a spoon to melt the butter. Why go to that extreme?
Because it captures that raw, unadulterated appreciation for something that requires zero pretense. It shows that certain pure joys, they just transcend sophistication or circumstance. It's just universally good.
Right.
But speaking of pretense, let's step away from the small pleasures and look at where that gratitude turns into real transformative action.
Charity.
Yes, charity.
This contrast is essential to understanding the sources. On one hand, you have the small, sometimes bizarre individual joys. On the other, the sources reveal a pretty massive collective impact. They raised approximately $40,000 recently from a charity jersey auction. That is a substantial effort.
$40,000. And they were very specific about where that money went, which gives it real weight. It went to a place called Cumberland Heights, a local rehab facility.
So not just a generic check.
Not at all. The funds were specifically earmarked to subsidize the recovery costs for people fighting addiction.
That decision reflects a real awareness that, historical wrongs, the stacked on sin, that can feel abstract. But community struggles right now are tangible.
They're real.
By focusing on addiction recovery, they're addressing immediate individual human suffering. They also mentioned a prior donation to the Gary Sinise Foundation, which reinforces this theme of consistent collective effort.
So if that's how we find purpose externally, through big charity, let's pivot back to those individual, highly unique, small joys that the host speaker listed internally. This list it's a profound, if strange, roadmap for finding personal gratitude.
And they aren't random anecdotes. They reveal a pattern of seeking these small moments of private control or unexpected connection in a world that feels just overwhelmingly chaotic.
Exactly. The first one is so bizarre. Accidentally touching a stranger's leg in a dark place, like a movie theater.
While you're looking for something you dropped.
Yeah. Retrieving a lip balm, Funyuns, or even, quote, a couple grams. It's the thrill of that unexpected, slightly transgressive human contact in the dark.
And that search for authenticity continues with the pet thing. The specific example of petting a cat, Aunt Cheryl, and if the cat actually strikes you,
Yeah.
you get to call it a little expletive. It's about recognizing and respecting that wild, untamable energy in the world, even in a house cat.
Which contrasts so nicely with the most serious and, I think, universally relatable point on the whole list.
Yeah.
Showing up for a loved one. That's the true emotional anchor.
For sure. But then we dive right back into the therapeutic value of, like, minor transgression.
Right.
The idea of making loud noises or using slurs, racial or non-racial, around a hard-of-hearing grandmother. It's framed as this opportunity to just let loose with total impunity.
It's that need for a temporary freedom from consequence.
Exactly. And then the highly secretive physical acts of connection.
Burying something.
Burying something secret where no one will ever know. The objects they mention, earrings, a little sack of underpants, a bag of hair, it all emphasizes this deep human need for privacy and for a connection to the earth that only you know about. It's creating your own secret reality.
And this need for control, it culminates in the final, highly tactical anecdote, calling the cops on a neighbor.
The detail here is just stunningly specific.
It is. Claiming the neighbor, who's described as a big bone, European construction worker with big fatty calves, has a gun, specifically to ensure a quick response time.
And then conducting the conversation with the police shirt off in your front yard.
That level of tactical specificity, it isn't just a joke. It's the extreme edge of finding control in chaos. You can't control the world, but you can, apparently, control a response time of your local police.
It paints this complete picture of seeking equilibrium between chaos and calm. And that search for equilibrium, that leads us directly into the third segment, navigating this truly wild time.
Yeah, the sources suggest this profound shared feeling that the world is spinning, noting that many things that were once considered conspiracies are, well, all coming true.
And this uncertainty has triggered an existential awakening in a lot of people. The analogy they use to describe it is just genius.
Video game one.
The video game one. Feeling like a character like Mario or Link, who suddenly stops, looks directly at the screen and stares right at the player, at the person holding the controller.
That moment where the character breaks the fourth wall, that's where the crisis of control begins.
Right.
If you realize you're a character, you immediately ask, who's holding the joystick? What are their motives? It just forces this profound questioning of your own reality.
And the conclusion they synthesized for dealing with this, whether you respond with fear or excitement, it's the same.
Lock into the real intangible.
Exactly. Focus on family, friends, familiarity. Look at the $40,000 raised for real people, or the joy found in that unapologetic garlic bread.
The sources warn against getting too deep in the information overload. Don't spend Thanksgiving debating second shooters or if we landed on the moon.
You have to focus on what you can actually affect.
And this leads to the ultimate realization. Everyone is player one in their own life. If you feel like a character, the challenge is determining your personal mission.
And in a world perceived as a struggle between good versus evil, defining that purpose gives your life a little bit of gravity.
And if we needed more examples of defining purpose, we certainly found them in the listener calls.
Yeah.
We got a massive surprise from Riley Mao, the audio engineer.
A huge surprise. A genuine miracle, really, and a beautiful, chaotic announcement.
So Riley, he's 27, and his partner are expecting a baby boy on December 30th.
Conceived on April 1st, which is fitting.
It is. But what stands out is the juxtaposition of this immense sincerity with the highly raw, sometimes profane language used in the celebratory prayer.
I mean, referring to the unborn child as a batch of semen and egg and then thanking God for the father's blast sauce, that is not traditional language.
Not at all. But beneath all that humor, the core message was absolutely sincere. This new life gives Riley, who admitted he was scared and lacked direction, a renewed, immediate, and tangible sense of purpose.
A new gravity.
A new gravity.
That transformation from fear to purpose is such a powerful thread. And then we address a more common holiday struggle with Anna, who called in feeling isolated because, as she said, "I hate my family."
She said they're mean. It's a highly relatable conflict. The advice given, though, while it validated her feelings, was incredibly practical and challenging.
It was about reframing her attendance.
Right. They suggested viewing it not as an obligation to the people who hurt her, but as an act of service for another family member who might need her there. An aunt, a cousin.
It shifts the focus from victimhood to active agency.
And there was a necessary caution in there, too, one that resonated with the host speaker personally, to avoid getting addicted to self-pity.
That addiction can be comforting, but it isolates you. Acknowledging that personal struggle made the advice land with so much more weight for Anna.
Which moves us directly to Bailey's profound message of overcoming darkness. Bailey spoke openly about recovery from BPD, borderline personality disorder.
And the core message was one of pure, unvarnished hope. Things get better.
Bailey articulated that experience so beautifully, explaining that the joy in living doesn't necessarily return gradually. It, quote, kind of lists suddenly.
Like a curtain being pulled back.
Exactly. That sudden, visceral shift offers a profound message of unexpected grace to anyone struggling.
And finally, we had Cage, who called in announcing he and his partner are expecting twin girls, a side-by-side situation, as he called it.
And this presented a uniquely complex challenge. The host speaker even confessed to a personal, semi-serious skepticism about the wizardry of twins.
He mentioned that bizarre video of the whistling baby.
Yes, which just shows how bewildering these complex biological events can be. But despite that, the advice was pared down to its core, tangible essence.
Be there and love them.
That's it. When you're facing something massive and unpredictable like raising twins, simplicity and presence are the most powerful things you can do.
And that concept of connection, of presence, it leads us perfectly to Danielle's spiritual question: how do you meet God halfway?
Such a great question.
The explanation provided completely redefines the relationship with a higher power, God, the universe, whatever you call it, as something that needs to be kept warm. It's a thermal analogy for spiritual maintenance.
And that warmth isn't achieved through panicked, desperate pleas in a crisis. It's maintained through concrete, regular, small actions.
Regular prayer, silence, meditation, just thinking of others, checking in on people. It's about consistently getting outside of yourself.
The benefit of this maintenance is profound. If you keep that connection reinforced when you need immediate guidance or intuition, when you need that player one input, the walkway is already warm.
The connection is immediate because it's been consistently tended to.
Yeah.
It becomes a continuous conversation, not a desperate 911 call.
Finally, we had a listener call thanking the host for taking a break from touring and emphasizing the critical need for self-care. The host acknowledged that universal struggle between the creative drive, the urge to always be doing, and the body's need for rest.
He noted that having time off allowed him to pursue immense, non-work-related joy like attending 10 SEC football games and find structure by returning to therapy.
It underscores a crucial point. Self-care is not passive. It requires deliberate effort to maintain that warm connection with yourself so you have the energy for your player one mission.
So we have covered the depth of historical sin, the miracle of a blast sauce baby boy, the tactical genius of calling the cops on a neighbor with big fatty calves, and the glory of authentic garlic bread.
What a journey.
The synthesis is clear. In a world that feels wild, unstable, and uncertain, purpose is found in deliberate, tangible connections and small, consistent efforts.
Your mission is to commit to deep collective acts of charity, to show up for family even when it's hard, and to recognize the profound value in the small, strange, personal joys that make you feel truly alive.
Find the gravity and lock into the tangible.
We're profoundly thankful for you sharing this intense deep dive with us. So what tangible commitment are you going to make right now?
Building on that theme of purpose. If you accept the premise that all of existence is stacked on sin and historical mistake, how does knowing this define your personal player one mission? How does that history influence the small, tangible, good things you choose to create for the coming year? That is the challenge that faces every player in this game.